And this is Worldview. From power struggles in Southeast Asia to a deadly strike in the heart of Europe, today's world is once again defined by conflict, political, strategic, and deeply personal. We take a look at Thailand, where a prime minister is forced out after just a year. In Ukraine, Europe reels from Russia's deadliest attack on Kiev in months. And in China, China draws closer to Moscow with its first sanctioned gas delivery. A peep into Minnesota, where a horrifying tragedy in Minneapolis reminds us that violence isn't confined to the battlefield. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV, where the headlines reveal not just what's happening, but what it means. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for joining us on Worldview today. We begin from the Middle East, where local medics said Israeli forces killed at least 16 Palestinians across Gaza on Thursday and wounded dozens in the south of the enclaves, as residents reported that Gaza City's suburbs were under intensifying bombardment. The Israeli military is preparing to seize Gaza City, the territory's leader, despite international calls on Israel to desist over fears that a ground offensive could cause significant casualties and displace the roughly 1 million Palestinians sheltering there. In Gaza City, residents said families were fleeing their homes, with most heading towards the coast, as Israeli forces shield the eastern suburbs of Shahila, Zoto, and Sarab. Israeli officials described Gaza City as the last urban stronghold of Hamas, which ignited the war with its deadly October 2023 attack on Israel. The Islamist militant group has since been disseminated by Israel's aid and ground war in Gaza. In the meantime, the Israeli military said that starting from today, a local humanitarian pause in the military activity will not apply to the area of Gaza City, as it constitutes a dangerous combat zone. Israel's security cabinet had approved a plan to take control of Gaza City, a move expanding military operations in the shattered Palestinian territory that drew strong criticism at home and abroad over its pursuit of almost 2-year-old war. Last month, Israel announced a halt in military operations for 10 hours a day in parts of Gaza and new aid corridors as Jordan and the United Arab Emirates airdrop supplies into the enclave. The Israeli military said today that it will continue to support humanitarian efforts alongside ongoing maneuvering and offensive operations against terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip in order to protect the state of Israel. Still in Gaza, Israel has recovered the body of hostage Ilan Weiss from the Gaza Strip, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said today. Items belonging to the second person, whose identity had not yet been cleared for publication, were also retrieved, the statement added. The Israeli military said that Weiss, age 55, a resident of Kibbutz Be'eri in the southern Israel, was kidnapped from his home and killed during the October 7, 2023 cross-border attack by Hamas. His wife, Shiri, and daughter, Nogan, were also abducted and later released as part of a hostage prisoner swap deal in November 2023. With Weiss' body recovered, Israel say 49 hostages remain in Gaza, of whom only 20 are believed to be alive. We move now to the Asian Pacific region, where Thailand's Constitutional Court dismissed Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office today for an ethnic violation after only a year in power, dealing another crushing blow to the Shinawatra political dynasty that could usher in a new period of turmoil. Paetongtarn, who was Thailand's youngest prime minister, becomes the sixth premier from or backed by the billionaire Shinawatra family to be removed by the military or judiciary in a tumultuous 2 decades battle for power between the country's warring elite. In this verdict, the court said Paetongtarn violated ethics in a leaked June telephone call during which she appeared to counter to Cambodian former leader Yoon Suk Yeol at a time when both countries were at the brink of an armed border conflict. It is reported that fighting erupted weeks later and lasted 5 days. The decision paves the way for election by Parliament of a new Prime Minister, a process that could be drawn out with Paetongtarn's ruling Pure Thai Party losing bargaining power and facing a challenge to show up a fragile alliance with a razor-thin majority. In South Korea, Kim Kyung-hee, the wife of South Korea's ousted former President Yoon Suk-yeol, has been indicted for bribery and other charges, a special prosecution team said today, amid a widening probe into the country's martial law crisis and scandals involving the once powerful couple. Both Yoon and Kim have been arrested and are in jail, with Yoon already undergoing trials on charges that include insurrection, falling in his ouster in April over a botched bid to impose martial law in December. The couple faced separate investigations by special prosecutors appointed after Yoon's removal from office and since Liberal President Lee Jae-myung took office in early June. Following the indictment, Kim apologized for causing concerns and said she would make no excuses and face trial. Kim said in a statement relayed by her lawyer, which did not address specific charges against her, that just as moonlight shines brightly in the darkest night, she will endure this time looking to the truth in her heart. In Indonesia, tensions have risen in Indonesia's capital following a call by students of Jakarta Police Headquarters today in response to the death of a motorcycle ride-sharing driver hit by a police vehicle. The driver was hit at the site of violent clashes in the parliament as police were trying to disperse demonstrators protesting against a number of issues including lawmakers' pay and education funding. The protest called today in the capital of Southeast Asia's largest economic prompted a number of schools to allow students to leave early and banks and businesses asking employees to work from home. Meanwhile, the military has been deployed in some areas, visual broadcasts by local media showed. Let's turn the spotlight to the Russia and Ukraine war scene, where the head of European Union I beg your pardon, I'll take that again. The head of European Union's Executive Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has spoken of her outrage at Russia's deadliest onslaught on Kiev since July, which also damaged the EU's delegation's office in the Ukrainian capital. Ukrainian officials said that at least 23 people, including 4 children, were killed and dozens more wounded in the bombardment. All but one of the dead were in a 5-story residential building that was destroyed today. Meanwhile, the EU's diplomatic mission and nearby British consul were hit in a central Kiev in a strong worded statement. Von der Leyen said Russian missiles struck close to EU's office, 2 missiles hit in a distance of 50 meters after delegations within 20 seconds. Ukrainian forces said Russia had fired almost 600 drones and more than 30 ballistic and cruise missiles, the biggest attack on the capital this month. Ukraine's DSNS emergency service said that 22 of the 23 killed were in a residential block targeted in the southeastern Donetsk district on Kiev's left bank. A missile tore through the block of flats at about 3 o'clock, causing it to collapse. Diggers removed the rubble and rescue workers clambered on top of smoldering parts of the buildings looking for survivors. Officials say 3 of the children killed were aged 2, 14 and 17. Several older youngsters were also wounded. Still on the matter, the Pentagon has said that the U.S. State Department has approved the potential sale of 3,350 extended-range attack missiles includes GPS, guidance kit, and electronic warfare defenses for the weapons, which have a range of several hundred miles, according to one of the manufacturers. Kiev came under massive attack from Russia, and Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky said earlier this month that Kiev has secured $1.5 billion from European allies to purchase U.S. weapons as part of a mechanism that he said truly strengthens their defense. The potential sale is being funded under the Jumpstart program by Norway and the Netherlands, with additional funding via the U.S. Foreign Military Financing Program, a person familiar with the deal said. Still in Russia, Russia said today that Western proposals on security guarantees for Ukraine would increase the risks of conflict between Moscow and the West by turning Kiev into a strategic provocateur on Russia's borders. Ukraine's European allies are working to put together a set of guarantees for Ukraine that could be part of a potential peace settlement and would be designed to protect Kiev from a possible future attack by Russia. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said on Thursday that he expected a framework of security guarantees to be set out as soon as next week. Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said today that security guarantees must be based on reaching a common understanding that takes into account Russia's security interests. She told a news briefing in Moscow that the current proposals were one-sided and are clearly designed to contain Russia. Also, Russia today condemned a decision by Britain, Germany and France to launch a process that could reimpose UN sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. The 3 European countries, known as the E3, launched the so-called snapback mechanism over accusations that Iran has violated a 2015 deal that aimed to prevent it developing a nuclear weapons capability in return for the lifting of international sanctions. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that blamed the United States and the Europeans for the collapse of the 2015 agreement. They also strongly condemned these actions by European countries and called on the international community to reject them. Russia signed a strategic cooperation deal with Iran this year and condemned the bombing of Iranian nuclear site by Israel and the United States in June. Let's take a quick break right now. When we return, Worldview continues. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. Let's head now to trade matters where officials in Seoul said today that negotiations ranging from tariff to defense between South Korea and the United States were bogged down, overshadowing a handshake agreement and a promising presidential summit. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung met U.S. President Donald Trump for the first time on Monday and emerged declaring success after displaying personal chemistry and avoiding any public spills between the two longtime allies. Behind the scenes, however, the two sides were unable to agree on a joint statement for even a fact sheet, and a month after announcing a deal on tariff. The agreement still has not been finalized on paper. Lee's national security advisor, Win Sung-lak, said today that the two countries did not produce documents covering security, economy, trade, or investment because process remained slow in some areas while large strides had been made in other areas. In China received this week its first liquefied natural gas cargo from a sanctioned Russian project. Ship tracking data from Capel and LSEJ showed, days ahead of Russian President Vladimir Putin's meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Putin is among more than 20 world leaders, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in China's northern part city of Tianjin on Sunday and Monday. There they are expected to meet Xi to revive trade between the countries. The meeting is expected to mark another diplomatic coup for Russia, which has had sanctions imposed by the US and European unions for its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, after Putin held talks with US. President Donald Trump in Alaska earlier this month on a potential peace agreement. The tanker Arctic Mulan LNG, carrying LNG from the Arctic LNG 2 project, which is targeted by the sanctions, berthed at China's Benghai LNG terminal in the southern region of Guangxi, data from Capel and LSEG showed. The cargo came from a storage facility in the Russia Far East that has only received cargoes from Novatek. In a separate development, the number of people reportedly missing to the Red Cross shooting occurred on August 27, 2025 at Annunciation Catholic School